I was right, and you were wrong.
Good. Let's keep it going.
I had the Packers.
You did have the Packers.
You doubted them. You had Kirk Cousins.
What was Deshaun Jackson doing? Get in the end zone, dude.
Usually when you have the ball and you're going toward the corner, don't you do this?
Don't you reach out for the pylon?
Not this.
I don't know. He's whacked.
It was
I don't know what
backwards.
He was doing. Yeah, he's not that that's Green Bay still would have won because number 12 was back. You remember him, don't you? Number 12, Aaron Rodgers.
I didn't know if he made the trip for the first quarter, but then there he was.
Yeah, I saw him on a milk carton about a month ago, but he was found.
I thought it was the middle of the first quarter when I saw that milk carton.
That might have been that too.
Packers still alive, so we got to talk some more playoffs and kind of hit the midseason here for the high school basketball. Why don't we break down some of the teams that we've seen and what we need to see over maybe the second half of the season and as we get closer to tournament play, because it's really only like
month and
6 weeks
so,
away.
Something like that. Yep.
It's right around the corner.
It is.
So all that today here on Xtra Points. Packers to the Super Bowl? No, you're not quite going there yet. Well,
get carried away.
We'll see. we'll see if we can even convince ourselves.
Or what, you been out tipping them or what?
We'll see if we can convince ourselves if they can win one more here. I'm Eric Schmoldt, sports editor at the Gazette. This is John Barry. This is our Extra Points show.
I have not been drinking today yet.
Yet. You don't have to do anything tonight, right?
No.
We get together once a week here and just talk local sports, and obviously on the minds of everybody this week are the Packers, even though last week everybody was kind of like, who cares that the playoffs are here because they're probably not even going to win a game. Well, they go on the road and play 3 pretty good quarters of football and take out the Washington Redskins.
See ya, Kirk Cousins. You like that? You like that? Yeah,
I did like
team
that.
won. The better team won. I mean, would I have been surprised if Washington would have come out and beat them? No, but Rodgers looked like the MVP was last year, like the Rodgers we've come to expect. And I said from the beginning, it's the playoffs. Forget what Washington did during the end of the year. Forget the fact that Kirk Cousins was the highest-rated quarterback the last half of the season. Who cares? It doesn't matter. It's the playoffs. It's a whole different animal. Rodgers played like he'd been there before. Cousins made a couple of poor decisions. And, the better team won and the team with more playoff experience won. And Rodgers was having fun again. And when he's walking off the field smiling and slapping McCarthy on the butt, you know that things are going pretty well.
Quite a different feeling than
it was.
Some of the past weeks where every time they showed him, looked like he was just in misery and
just frustrated.
Angry. But we'll see what happens against the Cardinals. But Will Brinson, I think on Twitter, was the one who kind of pointed it out. But if you just looked at every game this weekend, it was all about the quarterbacks.
Yeah.
I mean, it was Rodgers over Cousins. Wilson over Bridgewater.
Smith over Hoyer, although why Hoyer wasn't out of that game long before he was, I don't know. But
they didn't have anything else.
No.
And then Roethlisberger over McCarron. So pretty easy. It's
the better quarterback with more playoff experience won, and Kansas City, eliminated that postseason drubbing that they'd had of late, and the Steelers. They advance, but if Roethlisberger can't play and Brown can't play, they're hurting. They're in serious trouble.
Well, I was going to say, you can't just go into this weekend saying whichever quarterback, because every matchup now is actually between quarterbacks who have been there, who are probably amongst the top 10 or 12 quarterbacks in the league, because you got Newton versus Wilson. I mean, that's going to be pretty fun to watch.
Rodgers and Palmer, great.
Guys that have done it.
Roethlisberger, Manning, great. And Brady and Alex Smith.
I mean, you would say Brady, in that matchup.
You know what? Maybe Smith doesn't have that, but boy, no one's playing better in Kansas City right now.
Yeah,
they are playing
I don't know about
really
Macklin,
well.
though. So.
Yeah, if Macklin doesn't play, and Edelman's back for New England, and New England, that's 2 weeks for Belichick to prepare, and that's usually bad news for the opponent.
So we'll see. Rodgers against Palmer. I mean, they just played 2 weeks ago, and that didn't go very well.
No.
So what needs to change this time around if they're actually going to be in this game?
Well, I think if you're Green Bay, you go in and hope maybe Arizona's a little overconfident and think that they can just show up and win because they handled them so easily a couple weeks ago. But Devontae Adams doesn't look like he's going to play, so that means Abadaris is now your number 3 receiver, and he's got to be able to make plays. And I think Rodgers is starting to get some trust in him and not afraid to look his way. And he's going to have to step up because they'll put Patrick Peterson on Cobb, and with Tyrone Matthew out for Arizona, Aberderis is going to have to step up and make some plays. And I thought Starks and Lacey got going a little bit at the end there, and
if they get that run game going, obviously.
Let's face it, weather's not going to be a factor. So with Aaron Rodgers, I know it's on the road, but you kind of think back to, 2010 when they went on the road and won, and before they got to the Super Bowl, and but you hope some of that magic can reappear.
I mean, the Cardinals, when you look at them, they obviously have Palmer. They have a lot of receiving weapons. But you think the Green Bay defense is playing pretty well.
It is.
And if the Green Bay and the Packers offense obviously gain a little momentum and a little spark here, I feel like this game might be different. I don't think it's going to be a blowout the way that it was 2 weeks ago.
I don't either, and I think the biggest difference is that even when Green Bay got down 11-0 on Sunday, I don't think anyone was overly concerned. I mean, they weren't playing well, but Washington's not that great defensively, and I think you knew it was a matter of time before they started making plays, which they did. I think Arizona's a little different. I think Arizona defensively is pretty good, and I think an early deficit could be much more detrimental than it was against Washington. Arizona's a team you don't want to fall behind early, and I think Green Bay, needs to come out, set the tone, maybe score right away, even if it's a field goal, just to get some points on the board to let Arizona know that, hey, you know what, it was a cakewalk last time, but this time's the playoffs, it's different.
I can't pick them to spring the upset this time around, but to me it might be a one-possession game and maybe a 10-point game.
I'm taking the Packers.
You are?
Yeah, taking the Packers. 27-24 Green Bay. Yes, they're going to win.
I thought you were the one that said I had been drinking this morning.
Well, I'm just letting you know. It's the playoffs. It's different.
What?
Rodgers is back. Aaron's back. Number 12 is back.
Are you going to get kicked out of your house for picking the Packers?
I probably will, but I'm hoping that she doesn't see this. No, I a part of me, I don't know. I think they got a chance. And, that 2-week layoff, I saw Arizona just get embarrassed by Seattle. Just embarrassed. And, if they can get a little pressure on Palmer and get him having some happy feet, I'm not sold on Arizona's running game. I know Brown's come on pretty strong, but defensively, when they played somebody good, they've struggled to run the ball, and I think the Packers are playing pretty well defensively. So I'm going to stick with my guns, and I am picking the Packers to win.
Well, we'll be on the opposite end of the spectrum.
That's
again.
Fine. Okay.
We'll flip roles here this week.
Okay.
What about the other games? I like New England for sure.
Okay. I would agree with you there.
I'm going to take the Broncos just based on I don't know who's going to play for Pittsburgh, or if they do, if
there's
they're
not
at 100%.
even a line on that game, so I would agree. And I think even if Roethlisberger and Brown play, I still like Denver to win. Manning, he's been there, and Pittsburgh, let's face it, they were lucky to win last week.
They beat the Broncos in the regular season.
They did.
I'm going to be there, so that'll be fun.
You'll be there. That will be fun. And Carolina and Seattle, boy, you'd think Carolina would handle them, but, Seattle, they might just be living on the edge right now. I mean, they had no business winning the Minnesota game. They did. I like Carolina, I think.
Me too. I'm taking all the home teams.
All right.
Even though all the road teams just won.
All right, Homer, whatever.
Let's talk a little hoops here. We're pretty much the midway through a lot of I think the girls' conference season are about right at midway. Saw a couple doozies of games last week.
Yeah, you saw a great one Saturday night.
Thursday, too. I had number 1 Whitewater, number 6 Broadhead, and that came down to 1 point. And then, Middleton, which I think is back up to number 2, and Craig now back to number 10, and they played into overtime. And Craig
sounds like they could have won.
Craig wins that 90% of the time, but they get this deep shot off at the buzzer, and it goes through.
Kind of reminds you of the time Annie Schumacher hit the shot against Parker in the tournament. Same thing. You just don't know that what can happen at any time. So,
I guess let's start on the girls' side there. I mean,
all right.
Let's start with Craig because I think they're third in the Big 8 right now. They get to go against Verona and Middleton once again and see if they can turn things around this time. But a team that I don't think didn't play great basketball for a while there. But I think Saturday night maybe could have been a turning point, even though they didn't win that game. That was easily the best that they've played. They showed they can play with a team that's been ranked in the top 5 all season.
Right.
And kind of as Kerry Storbach said after that, if they play like that the rest of the season, the team could do something.
Well, and I think there wasn't any question they missed Al Hughes, and that was pretty prevalent, for that, I would say, 4 or 5 game span where they just weren't scoring offensively. And now Schonenberger's going to get her points. Annie Schumacher's going to get her points. But Al Carlson has really impressed me. Allie Carlson has played well. Cam Brittingham
when she gets that
score.
shot going,
she gets that 12, 15-footer from the baseline. She's making it 7, 8, 9 times out of 10. And if you can get 4 kids that can score, then it opens things up a little bit for you. And I think that's what Craig's got to have. They got to have some balance because I think they were also dependent on Schonenberger to get points and maybe Schumacher to get points. And now they realize that some other kids are going to have to step up. And, they lost to a very good Middleton team that, probably has got a chance to maybe win a state title. So.
And the other thing was they were without Carlson and Schonenberger for all or most of overtime, and they had 2 freshmen in there playing, and they still were right a second away from winning that game. So I think that bodes well. They got to take that momentum despite the loss and roll with it a little bit here.
And they have to get scoring because a team like Verona with the size is the one thing Craig doesn't have, is they don't have those big kids up front in the post. And, I don't know what Limeran did against Craig, but obviously she did
a little bit of everything. Yeah,
she was pretty
very
dominant
good
at times, yeah.
On the other side at Parker, and huge question mark, I guess, going into this week.
What's the health of Julia Hartwig?
Right.
Yeah.
Freshman who I think was in the top couple leading scorers in the Big Eight.
She was second in the Big Eight in rebounding and 5th, I believe, in scoring. And
now with a knee injury, and I mean, you saw a game Saturday, which shows you, they don't have her. Things can be pretty dicey.
And same with the Memorial loss on Thursday. But in talking to her mother, Jenna, afterward, they checked the knee. She's going back this week for a second look. They thought the ACL joint was pretty tight, which means they didn't think there was damage there. So if it's just a meniscus sprain, something she can play with, going to have to wrap it, but not something that's going to shut her down for the rest of the season and cause her to have surgery or anything. So her mom felt like this would be a big week as far as, if they can get her back, because, they're going to be on the short stick playing Middleton with her, and without her, they really don't have a chance.
Right.
No.
And just looking forward, if this is something that's nagging, it's something that could very much just change the entire complexion of the season.
Yep, it can. Yep.
So that we're kind of in wait and see mode there, I think.
I would agree.
Yeah. Yep. Around the region, we talked Whitewater and Broadhead, a great game the other night. Maybe we'll see it again in the playoffs, and that's been one in the tournament that's been it's become a great rivalry as well.
It has.
I think either of those teams have a chance to make it to state, but that once again, that regional, that sectional, they're loaded.
Yeah.
So it's going to be I think both these teams still aren't playing their best basketball,
right? Even
though Whitewater's ranked number 1 and they're the ones you have to beat because they're the defending champs. They're not at the level they were last year at this point. So there's still some work to be done here over the last few weeks.
And I think the X factor and all that for that Division 3, is Mariama Smith-Trior. If she's healthy, and let's face it, she's 6'2", and you don't see a lot of those post players at that division that are that good and that dominant. And, she's already clearly getting looks from a lot of different schools, and she's the one thing I think that separates Whitewater from a lot of those other schools, is that post player. And now that she's started to run the court a little bit, she's not afraid to lead the break. She's not afraid to bring the ball up the court. And she's only going to get better. And as those role players and supporting players start to realize that, hey, whatever we do has got to funnel through her, and they're okay with it, I think Whitewater's still probably, I would say, the favorite to come out of that sectional.
But there's, you got Edgewood there.
You got a lot of good teams.
Edgewood plays the Division II schedule and drops down. So
yep.
It's going to be a fun one to watch. Same thing with the Division III boys when you have Evansville, Turner,
East Troy.
Marshall.
East Troy was very impressive. I was
Lakeside.
Jake Nixon at East Troy, the transfer from McWanago, was a very, very good high school basketball player. I'm not saying he's bound for great things at the next level, but boy, he. I've talked all year about Brennan Banks, and Brennan Banks is a nice, solid player, but boy, this Jake Nixon kid from East Troy is just incredibly skilled.
Certainly was when you saw him play Friday night. And
yep.
I would venture to say that Evansville had an off night as well, and that didn't help.
No.
Banks comes back, scores 31 Monday night. So and
it was deja vu. It was a repeat of that sectional semifinal game a year ago when every shot they took went in. They had 8-9 threes the first half, and they put up 49 a year ago, and they put up 40-some this year, and you just tip your hat. There's not much you can do. They were long threes too. They weren't cheapies.
So That'll be an interesting race to watch, the Rock Valley North there.
Yep.
I think I liked Turner a lot at the beginning of the season. They've hit some road bumps, and Alec Fruin is dinged up, and we're just going to have to see if he can get healthy by the time the end of the season, or if they want to make some noise in that stacked regional or sectional, they need him at 100%.
Exactly. He's kind of like Hartwig is to the Parker girls, I would say. Yep.
And then we look Division I around here in Janesville. Let's start with Parker. I think they've been in a lot more games, and they're still trying to get over that hump of learning to win, but
Right.
they've got a few wins. What do we need to see from it? Is it just that learning that winning mentality and kind of getting over that hump and seeing if they can pick up a few more here down the stretch?
And the thing with Parker is people got to understand is those kids are good athletes. But good athletes don't always transpire into great basketball players. And, they've got kids that are athletic and that can do things, but, they're going up against teams that basically are kids that are playing basketball year-round. And, the Parker's got a lot of 2- and 3-sport athletes, which, again, you and I both agree there's nothing wrong with that.
Oh, yeah. We want to see more of that.
Yeah, we want to see more of that. But, you're looking against teams that don't have that. And so – if you've played basketball, 2-3 months out of the year, whereas some kids have teams or some teams have kids that are, year-round, it makes a difference. And I think that was probably apparent in the Sun Prairie game where they probably played their worst game of the year. Just a game where things fell apart quickly. And a lot of that is just because, let's face it, those 5 guys for Parker, they didn't get a lot of basketball experience in the offseason playing together. And that's when you get in a bind and you don't really know necessarily what the other one's going to do because you've been playing football and you've been running track and you've been doing other things, it makes a big difference.
With Craig, I would say we don't really know yet because now we're seeing Riley Jensen in the lineup for the first time.
Yep.
So we haven't seen this team at full strength yet this season with everybody healthy / eligible.
Right.
Now we get that. We're going to have to see exactly kind of what that materializes as. And even they've shown even without some of those guys, they've been pretty successful. They gave Memorial a run the other night.
Yeah, they did.
And they've really been in every game. They could have probably won every game so far.
And I think, again, with the Cougars, with bringing Jensen on board, it's how is he accepted by his teammates? And is he going to try to come in and do too many things or just let the game come to him and pick his spots and do what needs to be done, and that's rebound. And that's be a post presence, and that if he can do that, that opens up things a little bit for Adam Anhold, and we know what Santrell can do, and we know that Jake Negus is going to take care of the basketball and get the ball to people, and Nick Lynch is certainly capable of scoring. But when you add in a 6, what do they listen to him 10, 6'9", when you add a kid like that's got some skills. You get 3 or 4 games under your belt, you're going to be a pretty good finished product, I would think.
Yeah, we're going to see here over the next couple of weeks as they're almost back to full capacity. They won't get Jack Blomgren back, but
or Robbie Hoppy's out for a few games as well. But
most of the starters now are there, and even
that
Nick,
they expected to come in the season with.
Even, Nick Lynch, Nick Kramer coming off the bench as a defensive stopper. They've got some good role guys. Connor Wright has been pretty good off the bench as well. So now we get to see about full strength.
And it gives them a little bit more depth, and with that extra added 4 minutes, that makes a difference. So if you can go 8, 9, 10 deep, it's a lot better than being 6 or 7 deep.
We'll keep track more as we get closer to tournament time. What else? Anything else?
Roll Tide.
Missing? Yeah,
Roll Tide.
It was a hell of a game.
It was funny. I read that other than the Alabama fans and players and students, the happiest people in America were the bookmakers in Las Vegas because that last touchdown. It's funny how things come about, but I thought an entertaining game. I didn't care who won, but I thought a good game. Special teams a huge difference, and certainly Alabama's vaunted defense that everybody just raved about and said it might be the best defense ever gave up 40 points. So it tells you how good Deshaun Watson is, and he's back next year, and Clemson's got a lot of kids back, and we may see those two teams at it again next year.
Nick Saban, best college coach ever?
No, I got to go with Bielema. Maybe not. Yeah, but it's different time, different age. Bear Bryant certainly 6 national titles, and you can look at other guys as well, but I guess for now, for this day and age, yes, but I don't have to like him, do I?
No.
He left the Dolphins in the middle of the night, so I don't like him. I respect him, though.
Here's what I like about 2016 so far. Every big game has materialized into something good, whether it's local or, we had the number 1, number 2 basketball game. We had
Great
a championship game.
Yep.
Cut these high school games we talked
Battle
about
for
earlier.
the Big 8 supremacy in girls was a great game.
1 versus 6 in Division 3.
Yep.
I mean, hopefully 2016 keeps bringing
and
it.
I think around the corner we'll have Melton Stoughton wrestling, which could be a doozy. A lot of good things coming up, yeah. So stay tuned with us, and we'll keep you posted on what's coming up. Just for you, those out there that do watch this, Craig Middleton Boys Saturday night, which features unbeaten Middleton coming into the Cougar Gym on alumni night when they're going to honor Stan Dufresne and Barb Dietz. Tentatively right now, the game is scheduled for 2:45 p.m. because of the Packers, but that could change. So keep it with the Gazette and check our listings, and we'll keep you posted. But as of right now, originally scheduled for 7:30, going to be moved to 2:45, but it could go back to 7:30. There were some scheduling issues going on with Middleton, so it's kind of in flux right now, so to speak.
We'll keep you posted on all that. Let us know what you think of the show. You can leave a review on YouTube or iTunes or on GazetteXtra.com, or you can email us at sports@GazetteXtra.com, or find us on Twitter. Maybe I'll post some fun tweets from my road trip this weekend.
Jay Billis had a great tweet on the WI stuff. It was funnier than heck.
Very
funny.
That.
Very funny.
Thanks to Kevin McLeod for the music and Andrew Ryder for making it happen. And we'll be here after the Packers win or lose. Either way, we'll be here next week.
Take care, everybody.
Somebody will be.
Somebody will be.
I'm not back till Wednesday, so we're going to have to figure something out. We'll figure it out. See you then.
Seaman.